The 21st issue of the Marvel GIJoe comic run is considered by many to be the best in the entire series. One of the reasons for this was the unique feature it had. It was completely silent. I know most comic books don't make noise, but what I mean is there was no dialogue, no sound effects, nothing. Now, it has been said this was due to time constraints. The issue was late and the deadline was coming up, so there was simply no time for text to be added. But this theory has been debunked. Larry Hama, the creator of the GIJoe comic, and by many considered to be the George Lucas of GIJoe... wait, bad example. By many considered to be the Tolkien of the GIJoe universe, has stated he wanted to see if he could create an entire story without the use of dialogue balloons, sound effects, or anything. The cover, as is becoming usual, doesn't depict what happens in the comic. Like I said, it's silent. That means there's no gunfire at all in the issue. Yet here we see Snake Eyes firing away and being shot at. The cover does get one thing right though. The most unusual GIJoe story ever! The issue opens up with Storm Shadow flying in on a Claws. No, the motorized hang glider, not that dude. Storm Shadow is heading towards Castle Destro. That has a bunch of Cobra decorations on it. Yeah, remember when I said the distinction between Destro and Cobra could get a bit murky? This is one of the reasons why. Anyway, Storm Shadow has a prisoner with him, who he reveals to Cobra Commander is Scarlet! Surprised, but pleased, the Commander orders her to be taken to the dungeon. In the dungeon, Storm Shadow tries to be kind to her, I think, or maybe he's checking to see if she has good dental hygiene, I'm not sure. But Scarlet isn't having any of it, biting the hand that, well, kidnapped her. Since Storm Shadow bears her no ill will, we can assume they're trying to lure Snake Eyes there, since the big lug has a thing for her and he no doubt needs to rescue the damsel in distress. And sure enough, we see a plane overhead, with Snake Eyes promptly jumping out of the thing. Destro, being on radar duty for some reason, don't they have minions for this kind of stuff? Spots the plane, and we get the only text in the entire issue. His computer telling him that infiltration by parachute is extremely unlikely. So, of course, Snake Eyes pulls it off, effortlessly and flawlessly, and he starts coming to the rescue. Meanwhile though, Scarlet has plans of her own, as well as a massive cliché unfortunately, as she uses a hairpin on her shackles. Well, at least it's not the old, the prisoner is sick idea. Meanwhile, Destro is playing with his toys.
Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good!
Oh, okay, so they're actually chess pieces, and it's supposed to represent him missing the Baroness. But come on, buddy, you're in a comic made to sell action figures, for God's sake. Scarlet has gotten out of her shackles and dispenses Storm Shadow pretty easily, I have to say, while Snake Eyes cuts a silent but deadly path through the Cobras guarding the castle. Conveniently, one of the guards falls right outside Destro's window just as he's looking through it. So he leads an attack force. An attack force that's easily fooled by Snake Eyes, and that's the last we'll see of Destro this issue. Storm Shadow, who's managed to crawl out of the dungeon, has an ace up his sleeve though, the Red Ninjas, who were apparently just hanging around. Literally. At this point, Scarlet, who's armed with nothing but the chains she was in, takes out 2 Cobras transporting Stormy's hang glider and takes off with it. And horribly burning the Cobras judging from the distance. Snake Eyes has managed to make his way into the dungeon, and that pose says it all, doesn't it? If a picture is worth 1,000 words, this one is all variations of, okay, what the hell? So he doesn't find Scarlet, but he does find the Red Ninjas, who don't seem to pose too much of a problem. One is taken out by a glorified sewer cover, while the other one apparently brought a knife to a grenade fight. And I have to say, while the panel where the grenade explodes doesn't actually show you anything gruesome, the implied brutality still makes this a very powerful visual. That just leaves one red ninja and Storm Shadow himself. Although, well, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't point out that catching a spiky mace with your hand probably is a bad idea. Snake Eyes uses the red ninja as a shield and temporarily takes out Storm Shadow with 2 boots to the head. As he makes his escape, he's finally reunited with Scarlet, and everybody's happy. For about 1 second, as Scarlet spots Storm Shadow coming at Snake Eyes, preparing to throw his sword at him. So she quickly drops down, ready to take the fatal blow for Snake Eyes. You know, that's nice and dramatic and all, but she could've just spun around so the big hang glider thing blocks the sword. Anyway, Snake Eyes proves that he didn't need saving by just swatting the sword and throwing it away. And so the comic ends with Snake Eyes and Scarlet flying away to freedom, while Storm Shadow looks on. And I'm sure that if there had been a text bubble here, it would have said,
"I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time."
Oh, hell yes it did! Despite me mildly making fun of it, this comic got everything right. Without a single word, there was tension, there was action, there was drama. Also, once again, the old damsel in distress trope is completely subverted, as Scarlet wasn't just stuck in a castle waiting to be rescued, like some people from that era. In fact, the story makes it quite clear that neither would have escaped without the help of the other. A perfect partnership. As an aside, speaking of subverting cliches, it's interesting to mention that usually in Western culture, the black-clad ninja is the bad guy, while the white-clad ninja is the hero. This is completely reversed here, as Snake Eyes is the good guy, while Storm Shadow is working for Cobra. I should also note that this comic marks the introduction of Storm Shadow to the series. That's right, a main character is introduced without a single word and is never named. You only know it's Storm Shadow because, well, you know GIJoe, or because I've just told you. And this works better as a hook than anything. Who is this guy? What's his story? Speaking of hooks, even better, in the last 2 panels you can see both he and Snake Eyes have similar, if not identical, tattoos. What does this mean? And who were those red ninjas anyway? This leaves the reader with plenty of questions and hungry for more. And I can only salute it. Well then, my conclusion can only be this issue completely deserves its reputation for being one of the best GIJoe issues ever. Hey, I don't normally do this, but seriously, try to find this issue. Buy it, read it. eBay, online stores, whatever. Find this. The original can be a bit pricey, but there was also a comic book 3-pack with 3 action figures that came out a few years ago. Try to track that one down. Trust me, you want this. If you're a GIJoe fan, you need to have this. If you're a comic book fan, you need to have this. So, get out there and find it. And I can say whatever the hell I want right now, because this is all gonna be done silently. You have no idea the things I've said about your mothers. Is the sound back?